Somehow it's been 2 entire years since my last vinyl collection update. I have a haul of 120 new records to show you, vinyl that I've purchased from either local shops, thrifting, online, among other places, wherever I can find it. I'm gonna go in alphabetical order and put the records on the turntable for you to see if they've got special etching or a unique color or different press or anything like that. Sit back, relax, get ready to reach through your screen and do some record flipping and maybe even some record stealing. Let me know in the comments what you would steal, because we're gonna see everything from Hayley Williams, Deftones, and other newer vinyl, and of course classics too. George Harrison, Stevie Wonder, and yeah, like over 100 more. First pull from the stack, Lucky A, it's Alkaline Trio. This is my favorite Alk 3 record, actually, dropped in 2001, so turning 25 this year. From Here to Infirmary. It's on this beautiful, bloodied up pressing, if you will. It's got some gorgeous details in there. Sounds great as well. Now, this just catches your eye right away. It's gorgeous. It's always, as in the self-titled album from the Canadian band, and it's a fantastic debut effort. I rocked the fuck out with this one. A Mill and the Sniffers, the Australian rock band, goes so hard. Comfort to me, this record in particular, the song Hurts, which introduced me to them. Amy's an incredibly charismatic frontwoman, and this record just slaps. Oh dear lord, it's a sunset on vinyl, and it matches the album cover for Balance and Composure's comeback album, With You in Spirit, beautifully. Heard you wanted classics only? I got you. Goodwill find right here. Beach Boys, Pet Sounds for $10. Yes, please. Only one record shy of completing my Beach House albums discography on vinyl. This is Devotion. Bought this out in San Diego last year with my buddy Mark, fully involved. And yeah, I love the gatefold here. I did show this box set in another video, but come on, I kind of have to flex. The actual Beatles team sent me a handwritten note with this. It was for a promotion thing a few years ago when the 1964 US albums in mono came out. So that was the 60th anniversary in 2024, and I got the entire set for free, which was like mind-blowing. And to just have this and to maybe in some small way be a part of their world, and also with the Lego kit that they sent us, it was just insane. I'm staring at this one and I'm wondering, did I buy this in like a blackout or something? I'm not sure why. I mean, I really do like El Camino by the Black Keys, but I'm not sure why I dropped $40 on a 3 LP set for the 10th anniversary reissue. El Camino's got some damn fun songs on there. Little Black Submarines will always be chef's kiss. You want an album that's no skips and also a classic from like 50 years ago? Parallel Lines by Blondie. This thing still sounds fresh, kind of in that new wave era, but Parallel Lines, kicking off with Hanging on the Telephone and having some of their biggest songs of their career on here, deservedly so. This thing is a smash. This looks like liquid glass. It's so pretty, but then I was like, oh my god, the more I look at this, it looks like Windex and maybe a bird kind of shit on the window, and now you've sprayed the Windex, and now I can't unsee it. It's so pretty, but like, my mind is warped more than the record ever will be, because I'm keeping Sundiver in pristine condition. Do not worry. I apologize, Boston Manor, for talking down on the beautiful Butterfly Sundiver vinyl. Here comes your breeders. That's right, a 90s underrated gem, but kind of a classic in its own right, I would say. Last Splash by the Breeders. I think this dropped in 1994, and a lot of you might know the track Cannonball if you listen to music of that era. It's like power pop, alternative rock with some real hooks and some real depth, and I absolutely recommend this for a summer spin. Well, this is a little awkward. My favorite Brockhampton album, Saturation 2, is the one that's got Amir Van, their disgraced ex-member, plastered on the album cover. But it turns out I don't think they really pressed these albums on vinyl, and the shop that I got it from even admitted, yeah, this is a bootleg, so it sounds good for what it is. What's that, Princess? Chapel Roan? It's on my list.
You need to go grocery shopping, Dad.
What's that, Princess?
Food.
That's on my list.
That's an Oculus reference in 2026, but this is a gatefold edition of one of my favorite pop albums of the 2020s easily, The Rise and Fall of a Midwest Princess. Undefeated in the rap game, Pusha T and his brother Malice come back as Clips with their first new album in like over a decade, well over a decade, and it's so good. Let God Sort 'Em Out was easily in my top 10 best records of 2025. It's pretty much a no-skips album for me, and I love the features that they rounded up here. From obviously Kendrick Lamar, Tyler the Creator, I really felt like I was being appealed to because these are all some of my favorite rappers ever. And then we got the crossover with Jid. Come on, cherry on top. I did sell some of my Coldplay vinyl, I think maybe just Everyday Life, but I added one in X and Y. I was kind of surprised I didn't have this sooner. I think a lot of the songs on this album have aged better than a lot of people give it credit for, because look up the production credits for this and tell me that they don't have some clout there. Feeling like a fortunate son over here because I got a great deal for 15 bucks, 20 greatest hits from Creedence Clearwater Revival. I think I'm eternally gonna be stuck pointing to like Forrest Gump and Burnout Revenge as like the two pieces of media that really shaped my taste in everything. Hey, while we're here, did you want to smoke weed, fill our bellies with diet soda, and play Burnout Revenge on the PS2?
How about I come knock your block off and take those paper clips from you?
This is The Cure's greatest hits on silver vinyl, a nice gatefold here. This was released for Record Store Day 2026, and it just felt like an essential, but this has such a nice blend of slightly deeper cuts and also the hits because Robert Smith himself insisted that he pick the track list if there was going to be a greatest hits. Also from The Cure, I was floored by the sheer quality of Songs from a Lost World, released in late 2024. This is a white pressing, and it sounds phenomenal, and some of my all-time favorite Cure songs, I would dare say, now live on this album. Drone No Drone is just insane. That bass riff from Simon Gallup lives rent-free in my head, and Robert's vocals are just mesmerizing throughout the entire LP. A miniature mountain of Deftones records here. I added some more to the collection when I already had quite a bit. I'm ashamed to say that I bought Around the Fur at Walmart, but it was on sale for 20 bucks, and these days that's a pretty damn good price on vinyl. I'd been wanting this for quite some time because I've gotten more and more appreciation for this somehow. The further I get away from it, the further I drive. An old friend got me a copy of Saturday Night Wrist. This album being 20 years old is blowing my mind a little bit. This actually might be my favorite album art that Deftones have in their entire discography. It's up there with Koi no Yokin for me. My 2025 GOAT, or should I say Snake. I got the alternate color edition of the vinyl for Private Music, and I kind of love it, to be honest. You can see it in contrast next to the original green, and maybe I'm biased because purple is my favorite color, but this goes way harder. Kind of a milky clear pressing, but I'm less concerned with the color and more impressed with the insane quality. Like, how are you still hitting it out of the park like 35 some odd years into your career? One more from Deftones. I had not spent much time with this, and I still want to listen to it more, but I picked up in the used bin, 10 bucks, the Deftones Covers album that they put out around the time of release of Saturday Night Wrist. They cover everything from Sade to The Smiths to Leonard Skinner on this thing, and it's really immersive with the atmospheres that they get on. Honestly, it feels like a precursor to Crosses. I wish you could feel this one through the screen. It's just so satisfying. Maybe. Oh! Wow, I guess I rubbed the genie a little too hard there. The vinyl is safe, okay? It landed on some very, very soft carpet. Like I was saying, Depeche Mode, Songs of Faith and Devotion. This dropped in 1993 and was at an era where their style of music was evolving once again more into like gothic, pop, but on this record in particular, more alternative rock stylings. And it goes so hard. I think Walking in My Shoes probably being my top track. And just like that, it's the next day. Let's keep digging. This is the fantastic album Deceiver by Dive, an alternative rock band that have a lot of shoegaze elements. And this is probably their loudest album. I think their best album. And it's got a little Obi strip here. I wish it was a little bit more than just cardboard, but still, I don't have a ton that have that, so I'll take it. Picked up up this Donovan record, Sunshine Superman, while I was out in San Diego doing some crate digging, and this has probably his most iconic song, of course, Season of the Witch on here. I don't have a ton of 60s music in my collection, but happy to add some more for sure. What am I talking about? Clearly, I have plenty of 60s material. This is the Doors' self-titled albums. If you want 60s music, this has obviously a lot of their biggest hits, like Light My Fire, Break On Through to the Other Side. It was probably, I think, my introduction to the band, but I honestly can't remember. I just know that their music on this record and LA Woman in particular have definitely made an impact. I got Dua Lipa's self-titled album because it was only $10 in a used bin and it's in such good shape. I don't know if I'll hold on to this forever, but there are a lot of really fun songs on here. Digging back in time again, it's Goodbye Yellow Brick Road, Elton John, probably my favorite full album from him, maybe a predictable pick, but surprisingly, my Christian parents were a fan of Elton John, and I only say that because, you know, the whole gay thing doesn't really fly with the Christian crowd, but they made an exception for Sir Elton John. Every time I become a fan, man, apparently it's way too late. I got into Every Time I Die, like, post-breakup, but this 2016 album, Low Teens, is just so fire. This is the gatefold edition of the record, and it just sounds phenomenal on wax. Just so relentless and gripping. I swear everything are so slept on, especially here in America. They put out maybe one of their top 3 records in 2024, Mountainhead, and I still listen to songs from this routinely. Cold Reactor probably being one of my favorite songs of the 2020s so far. This one was a steal on this beautiful translucent ruby red vinyl. It's Fountains of Wayne. Yeah, the Stacy's Mom Band, the song that's on this album actually. Welcome Interstate Managers is such a full throttle and kind of jarring listen in a very good way. If you listen to, say, Mexican Wine after Stacy's Mom, you might not immediately identify it as the same band. R.I.P. Adam, you were incredibly talented, man. Somehow I did not have this debut album classic in my collection. Shame on me. It's the self-titled Franz Ferdinand record, and they did this kind of orange, almost tiger's eye pressing, and it matches the album so well. I love that the letters are raised up here and kind of embossed. It just pops. Take Me Out still lives rent-free in my head because of those PSP commercials, and I'm not even mad. Nothing to see here, just some garbage. It's the original and version 2.0. Both of these albums being excellent forays in that kind of grungy meets modern alternative rock styling that we got a lot more of, a lot of imitators of garbage. I'm only happy when it rains. We gotta be careful with this next one, Fragile Material on Board, for a classic All Things Must Pass by my favorite Beatle, George Harrison. This is a 3 LP set. This is a little bit not in the best condition, but still, it's held up very well, and we've got the vinyl in new sleeves now to protect them further, giving it some cleaning, and it still has that nice crackling, warm, like sitting by a fire sound, and to me, that's what experiencing vinyl, especially from truly eras bygone, should be like. Even though Gigi Perez had a ton of viral hype, and deservedly so, with Sailor's Song, I think people totally glanced over and didn't even realize that she put out her fantastic debut album in 2025, At the Beach in Every Life. Oh my god, you want to talk about an artist that slept on? Gleamer, why are we not talking about them more? Like, alternative, grungy, shoegazy. I was able to snag this gorgeous tricolor vinyl with red, blue, and yellow. It kind of reminds me of my Stovall microwave pressing in the best way. This was another Goodwill find. It's a little bit tattered, if you can see some of the damage it's taken over the years, probably being tossed around in bins and such, but this is the Glitch Mob, Drink the Sea. It's a little scratched up, the pressing that I got, but it still plays pretty well. If you're not familiar, it's kind of like trippy, atmospheric, electronic. They did that remix of Seven Nation Army by the White Stripes, Les Enfants Sauvages. Savage. Wild that this ended up being the first vinyl I purchased from the French heavy metal band Gojira, because I would definitely rank From Mars to Sirius and Magma ahead of this one, but I have a lot of love clearly for Les Enfants Sauvages as well. I believe that translates in English to The Wild Child. Calling All Saviors, the most recent Green Day album at the time of filming this update. It's a pressing that is kind of got this galaxy swirl. I think Hannah actually ended up getting a pressing of it that's even better than mine. Haley Williams' Ego Death at a Bachelorette Party, my beloved. It's got a really pretty layout with the gatefold. I just got the standard black vinyl, but it's incredible either way. I'm here for the music, man. Every song. Just behind Deftones for AOTY last year, like just behind. A lifetime with no cellmate, because they're actually locked intertwined for me. I think that Interpol's debut album, Turn on the Bright Lights, that gets the most acclaim, maybe directly on par with their follow-up effort, the second album Antics, on this ruby red pressing. Kinda wish he had labeled this one, but I guess it's No Name by Jack White, the third man himself. This is on this kind of cloudy, deep blue pressing that really does match this rain-soaked album cover, all blue, because, of course, it's Jack White's solo. Perfect that this just happened to align is the next album coming down the pipeline, the Jesus and Mary Chain. I actually have two from them, their first two records, Psycho Candy and Darklands. An excellent follow-up that really took some phenomenal creative risks and paid off in spades. But Psycho Candy, the reason it's connected to Jack White is that this is the Third Man Records pressing. It's kind of this haughty dipped sound, which really does make sense if you think about it. I'd also really like to pick up their 1992 album Candy's Dead at some point. Oh, Julia Wolf's Pressure, my beloved. This album has meant so much to me in the past year, and I was out here scrounging for vinyl for months. I drove an hour to pick up this emerald green pressing from an indie store that had it, and then like 2 months later, it's like, how about this Saw Blade vinyl that goes hard as fuck? No, but the blending of genres on this record is impeccable. It's got this flow too, like the first two songs, Kill You Off into Pearl, one of my most satisfying and favorite transitions that I've heard in years, and really every song at some point has been locked in. And the new song that she's got with John Summit, Do Not Sleep, Julia Wolf, one of my favorite modern vocalists. Much like the Haley Williams record, this is the eco pressing of the post-hardcore and emo band La Dispute's most recent, dare I say, masterpiece, possibly. It's certainly in the upper echelon of their records, and this pressing is blowing my mind the way that it just beautifully combines all of the elements, really, of the album cover, the way that this looks like a collage. Maybe not the LaRue record that most people would be crate digging for, but I pulled Trouble in Paradise. I had been looking for this for years at this point. It dropped in 2014. It went a little bit under the radar, especially compared to the album that had In for the Kill and Bulletproof. There is a lot packed in when it comes to rhythm and atmosphere and emotion. It channels the 80s beautifully. Yeah, don't skip out on this one if you've never listened to it, because it is absolutely worth your time. The sophomore album that was absolutely not a sophomore slump, this is From the Pyre, from the English band The Last Dinner Party. Hot pink pressing here. This wasn't quite up to the level of their debut Prelude to Ecstasy for me personally, but my god, some of these tracks have really taken me into a stranglehold, like The Scythe, Second Best, and Angus Die. Laura Marling has always been one of my favorite singer-songwriters, and her 2020 effort Song for Our Daughter is one that I had been meaning to pick up for a while. This is a gatefold edition, just on standard black. Two Led Zeppelin classics here with Led Zeppelin 2, and something that came out in a little bit more of their experimental era. They had certainly built upon their established blues rock sound by this point, and it expanded with Houses of the Holy in the mid-70s. You know, this might actually be my favorite album from them at this point. I picked this up about a year late and saved like $100 in doing so. Just wait, guys, don't get FOMO, because you'll probably find somebody trading it in. I did keep my copy of the original Meteora that I already had, but this new set came with just the standard black vinyl, although they are on 180 gram vinyl, so definitely some heavyweight. It sounds great. I just haven't listened to the bonus stuff all that much, but it's still really cool to have in the collection. one. For some reason, I haven't bought Madonna's Like a Prayer yet, but I do have Like a Virgin, despite the title track from Like a Prayer being my favorite Madonna song. Like a Virgin was kind of a no-brainer when I saw this for $5. Unfortunately, this was definitely not $5. It was a lot more than that, but it's worth it. Magdalena Bay. This is the gatefold release they did of Mini Mix Volumes 1 through 3. They put out some kind of like mixtapes, if you will, tracks that flowed together quite nicely, but are relatively short, and this is all 3 packaged into one with some gorgeous etching on the back of that other vinyl, and the colors are just like cotton candy I want to sink my teeth in. I was shocked to see that this was a used pressing of a classic What's Going On by Marvin Gaye, an album that has some political commentary on it for sure, but also some just kind of soul-affirming type tracks that bring me a lot of comfort. Also on that note, I got Thriller by Michael Jackson. Surprise, surprise, the biggest selling album of all time is now something that I, as well, finally own. Viewer introduced me to The Murder Capital by their debut album, Gigi's Recovery, that I ended up loving. I have the record for that, and now I have the follow-up, Blindness, that dropped last year. I know there's gotta be another level. Mute Math. I got this Record Store Day 2026. The store I went to, McKay's, was a free-for-all, and they let everybody in at the same time. But I was able to snag Mute Math's debut album. If you're not familiar, Paul Meany has produced for bands like Pierce the Veil and 21 Pilots now. A big fan, especially of some of their early work. This and Odd Soul being my favorites. Oh, speaking of Record Store Day collectibles, I'm a sucker here. I had to grab Ozzy Osbourne. This was exclusive. I'm a little mad I didn't get the Hello Kitty one they had for RSD. Weird that this is the second time I'm referencing Coraline in the same video, but the button eyes, I mean, what else am I supposed to compare it to? I'm probably 95% sure this is a bootleg, but I cannot find any information to save my life, not on Discogs, anywhere, about an orange pressing of My Bloody Valentine's 1988 EP, You Made Me Realize. I've really come to appreciate the pre-Loveless stuff and just the sound that led up to that, and songs like Thorn, Cigarette in Your Bed, Drive It All Over Me, and the title track You Made Me Realize. I'll admit it, this was partially an aesthetic purchase, which I rarely do, but I wanted to hang this on my wall. It's Life on the Murder Scene, My Chemical Romance. This was a used pressing. It's a little bit damaged up there in the corner, but nothing too serious, and I think this is a great addition to Three Cheers for Sweet Revenge. Of course, this includes the album itself and the extra tracks, like, you know, performing live for MTV. Some of these versions are just so good. Never made it as a wise man, but I did make a wise investment with Silver Side Up by the post-grunge Canadian rockers Nickelback. Did you know that this had a #1 Hot 100 hit on it? And how you remind me, 25 years ago, we had this rule in the radio, and also, I guess 9/11. For some people, Nickelback getting a #1 was their personal 9/11. I was kind of torn on this record when it dropped. The 1975, A Brief Inquiry into Online Relationships. I picked this up used. I had never wanted to drop like the 35 or 40 bucks they had been charging for it. I got this for 19, I think, and I'm glad that I did. I think the album has certainly grown on me, and it does feature some of their best songs. I just don't really think they're ever going to be able to fully recapture the magic of that EP era early on, the self-titled, and of course, I Like It When You Sleep. 2-disc heavyweight vinyl of the severely underrated album by No Doubt that came in between two huge successes, and they evolved beautifully with Return of Saturn, and it went a little overlooked, and they came back with like Hella Good in 2003, and we're back on top of the charts with Rocksteady, but I think this is their best album. I don't think I've ever heard anyone mention this band, but they're so good. Late 80s, early 90s, The Ocean Blue. I was lucky enough to get to see them live last year, and I picked up both of these records, this debut album on clear vinyl, and Cerulean, the follow-up with one of my favorite songs of all time, Ballerina Out of Control, on blue vinyl. Gasoline Dreams, Red Velvet, Bombs Over Baghdad, So Fresh, So Clean, Stankonia by Outkast, shitting on all of them. Rap Classic, one of the best rap albums ever recorded. This duo of Andre 3000, Big Boy, just untouched untouchable, the run that they had all the way up through Idlewild, and I think recently the track Red Velvet has been my favorite. This album is so much fun. Everybody Needs a Hero by Orla Gartland. Definitely some serious moments in there for sure, ones that like are really striking because of that. And you're into like alternative pop, I highly recommend this because Orla's songwriting and just her vocal approach is so unique and refreshing. For less than $10, I scored this copy of the 2011 Portugal the Man record, In the Mountain and the Cloud, and it's also on this really heavy-duty white vinyl, which I appreciate. Portugal the Man might not be a band name that you've thought about in a while, especially if you only know them for their hit Feel It Still, but this is some of their best material of their entire catalog, up there with like Evil Friends for me, and it has maybe my favorite track from them, Sleep Forever, is the closer.
I just wanna sleep forever.
No. The themes of kind of waking up from the illusion of religion have really been important for me in deconstructing my own faith. Perfect segue, because on the topic of deconstruction, the Pretty Reckless have had some tracks in their discography that have been important to me on that note as well. I'm excited to check out the new album, Dear God, but this is their 2021 LP, Death by Rock and Roll. Not usually much of a picture disc man myself, but I made an exception for Prince because Purple Rain, Prince and the Revolution, this is gorgeous artwork, and it doesn't sound too shabby either for what it is. This one was a gift that I was very happy to receive. I thought it was out of print, but this is a white pressing of the 2016 album I Couldn't Be Weaker by Rarity. If you're into like heavier pop punk with tendencies of like emo and post-hardcore, this will be right up your alley. I'm so fucking stoked about this band. Rocket have incredible potential, and they're already delivering on it. Mark my words, my signed poster, it's gonna be worth something someday. In case you couldn't tell already, I'm a massive Scott Pilgrim nerd. My favorite movie of all time. There's a poster right behind me, there's a tattoo on my arm, and here is the Scott Pilgrim Takes Off soundtrack. The eternal search for Ramona Flowers is over. This is a beautiful black and white ba-bomb pressing, and it's a gatefold. It sounds great on the turntable, heavyweight vinyl. Hey, it's my favorite Slater Kenny record, released in 2005. This is The Woods. It features some of their most high-octane and gripping tracks like Jumpers, and is really just a fun, all-encompassing listen, top to bottom. It's a little bit slept on. I miss Janet Weiss being in this band, man. I regret this financial decision in hindsight, because Treats, the debut album by the noise pop duo Sleigh Bells, released in 2010, it had not gotten a vinyl repress, not even for its 10th anniversary, so in 2023 or 4, I paid $85 for the gatefold OG edition of Treats. So sure, it's cool that I've got one of the OGs. It's in fantastic condition. This album is so weird and quirky and fun, but they repressed it for the 15-year anniversary 2025. So I could have paid $25, not $85, but I'm not going to cry myself to sleep over it. In my hands, I hold a 90s shoegaze trailblazing classic. It's Souvlaki by Slowdive. These guys have seen a ton of traction thanks to Gen Z falling in love with shoegaze, and I've really appreciated that resurgence. They're not just looking to new artists, they're looking back as well, and bands like Slowdive and Allison's Halo are getting a much-deserved second life. In 2025, my favorite Smashing Pumpkins record got a repress, Siamese Dream. It's a gorgeous gatefold on this just delectable red translucent vinyl. Pretty sure this was released as a Record Store Day essential to coincide with Record Store Day 2025. I copped a pressing, and I'm really, really happy with it. These lenticular holographic Polaroid covers on certain records kind of annoy me, but I'll allow it for Soundgarden. This is Bad Motorfinger. Before there was Super Unknown, there was this absolute behemoth of a record. It slams, and I'm talking Slaves and Bulldozers, Jesus Christ Pose, and the song that introduced me to this album, Rusty Cage. I had seen this record appear on so many best of all time lists and just like indie or classic essentials albums you need to hear before you die, and I finally checked out Sparks, the eccentric, iconic duo, a full-length album from them, my first, Kimono My House. and what an intriguing but addicting record. Not one, but two full-length albums by Spiritbox. This heavy metal band are just gnarly, man, but they have such a clean atmosphere that's smooth at the same time. This Eternal Blue pressing has that kind of removable front that's cut out, and I have mixed feelings on those because, like my debut self-titled XX record, it can get caught and make taking the record in and out a little bit of a pain. I'm a sucker for these ones that kind of have colors bleeding into each other, whether it be like at the top of the record or closer to the center. Personally, I think Tsunami Sea, though, was an even bigger step up. One of my top 5 records of 2025, and just really delivering on a no-skips effort. They Want My Soul, Spoon, one of the most consistent bands in the alt-rock genre since the 1990s. This one was my introduction to them because of the song Do You, playing on Alt Nation like all the time back in the day. A gently pre-loved purchase, I'm gonna say it that way. Songs in the Key of Life, one of the best double albums period of all time, featuring absolute classics like the 7-minute As. This is Stevie Wonder. This is a gatefold edition. I think this is an original from sometime in the 70s, might not have been the first press, but definitely from that era, and in reasonably good condition for it being as old as it is. Well, would you look at that? Another Apple pressing over here with some red swirled into it. This is Sum 41's Chuck. It has a very reflective holographic surface to it that is really, really cool. I think this might be their best full-length album. I'm torn between that and honestly Order and Decline. I'm really happy to see that the Sundays are another example of 90s bands, this being like a dream pop band, that have really seen a big explosion in numbers again, as it's not just people falling in love with the nostalgia, but really just the atmosphere and the writing on these tracks. I was immediately hypnotized by the track Here's Where the Story Ends, and I picked up both of these albums, Reading, Writing, and Arithmetic, and of course the follow-up on this beautiful translucent gold pressing that kind of reminds me of the Jesus and Mary chain one, Psycho Candy, I showed a little bit ago. Wait, I feel like I'm starting to notice a trend of green vinyl in this video. Yet another green pressing. I think this was for the 10-year anniversary. Jar by Superheaven. I think they blew up again because their song Youngest Daughter went viral on social media and it got the band back together. And while their self-titled album wasn't as great as the first two, this of course Jar I think being their best, their debut, but Ours is Chrome is also really good. Maybe it's the forgotten stepchild of the System of a Down discography, but still this album deserves some respect on its name. Start diving into this record, I'm telling you. Intervision, Bubbles, Mr. Jack, Roulette. About 2 years ago, I completed my Tame Impala album collection by getting Inner Speaker, and then Kevin Parker dropped Deadbeat, and I was like, not going to be purchasing that one. It's okay, but Inner Speaker, his debut full-length album, his Tame Impala, features some of his best work, to be quite honest. Jeremy Storm, It Is Not Meant to Be, Why Won't You Make Up Your Mind? Here's Tears for Fears, that's the tongue twister. Songs from the Big Chair, I almost didn't recognize you. This is alternate artwork on a red pressing for an anniversary re-release. I was kind of hoping that this would be a gatefold. It feels a little bit crammed as it is, but still a really nice pressing. I'm gonna yap for a second about the thermals, and please pay attention because this band dropped this masterpiece 20 years ago, 2006, The Body, the Blood, the Machine. It's a concept album. It involves a couple fleeing basically a Christian regime, and it's such a journey, and it's one that means a ton to me. I accidentally stumbled onto the track A Pillar of Salt, and it's one of the most infectious driving guitar riffs that I've ever heard. It's like if you put power pop in acid. I'm at a loss for words. Tiger's Jaw just have the most radiant, eye-popping, colored pressings that sound phenomenal. I love this band. This is their 2021 album on tricolor vinyl, I Won't Care How You Remember Me. And I got to see them live recently for their new album Lost on You and picked up this amazing blue swirl. The layers on this thing are insane. The new album's incredible. Check it out. Easily one of the best of the year for me. Okay, this Tool vinyl has got some weight to it. It's a chonker, but I think that tracks for Tool, okay? It's big, it's long, it's Maynard James Keenan. The detail on this gatefold pressing is insane. I love the art that's actually printed on the vinyl. It sounds surprisingly good for the prints, and it's just very vivid, unique, striking imagery. There you are, Steve Winwood. I was looking for you in your original band. Traffic, alternate artwork, I know, but this is, I believe, the American release. This is definitely an album worth preserving and hanging on to. I would recommend the title track, Dear Mr. Fantasy, Colored Rain, and probably my personal favorite, Heaven in Your Head. Paper Son is also fantastic too, though. I was paranoid that I wasn't gonna get my hands on a copy of Chromacopia by Tyler the Creator, but fortunately, the devil being in the details, once again, we have this embossed eco vinyl mix, I believe, that's on a white pressing, super high quality vinyl on a gatefold that just looks and sounds gorgeous, has a nice lyric booklet with it too. I don't know how else to say it other than this vinyl looks like what Wednesday sound like. It's just the perfect encapsulation there. And just look at the back album cover too. This is Greensboro core, kind of hometown heroes for me. I lived in Greensboro like a decade ago. I got to see them live on Easter this year. Picked up this vinyl at the show, and it really is just a great listen top to bottom. I need a compilation of me being Jack White trash. I love this man. I love Meg White. Incredible musicians. I finally rounded out the studio album collection from the White Stripes by picking up their debut album and Destyle. Destyle was from the Vault collection and has this amazing, like, pinwheeling, dripping black and red. Who's next other than The Who with a 1971 classic album? This is a pressing from the 70s that is in surprisingly great shape. Wisp is an artist that I've really fallen in love with. This is the Pandora EP, and it's on a milky clear pressing. I really want to grab her debut full-length album, if not Winter too. Winter, like winter. Rounding out my collection update with only the best of the best. This is Wolf Alice, The Clearing, everything from this era I'm scooping up because, yes indeed, I'm the trash man. I love the music on this record a ton, and I love that they went in a folkier direction. White Horses was my favorite song of 2025, like goddamn. But the album art, not really up to par for me. Either edition, I mean, I think this one is better, but this probably, if I had to choose, would have been the single cover for the lead single Bloom Baby Bloom, and this being relegated to just the single cover, this should have been the album. Genuinely, this is one of the reasons I bought the single. One, because I love both of the songs. Thorns is the B-side, and what a hell of a ballad that really showcases Ellie Roselle's insane vocal range. But this should have been the actual album cover too, and it's the only way I guess I'm gonna have that in physical form. Alright neighbor, that was some back-breaking labor. That vinyl gets heavy after shifting it around over and over again, and I also just wanted to say thank you to everybody who recommended putting all of my records in protective sleeves. While they're out for the sake of this video, all of my records have protection now. Appreciate you stopping in for my vinyl collection update. Smack that like button for me, add some hype, subscribe to the channel if you're new, and like I mentioned, if you want to check out my other collection videos, including the full collection of more than 500 records in one video I did in 2024, then tap the links on screen. I'll see you next time. Peace.